You don't have one? Or just you will? Well, and prices too high, maybe people slow down from. I'm a strong get it. Yeah. Go for now, you don't get it, then you can lose it. I saw it. Pretty subsidized. Yeah. Subsidize all of them, and make them cheaper. I was like, that's not a good. I don't feel like. Gas.
All right.
Oh, gosh, it's just so hard. It was a Wednesday night, but she was. It really was a fun show.
Now,
Appreciative and enthusiastic. Yeah. They were very personable, like, saying all the things, you know. Yeah. Like a show.
So like,
I guess. If you go to needles covered. That was oh, so it's you and Andrew.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, curious, but I know, of course.
Under meeting people from Zoom, please turn on your microphone.
So, yeah.
Microphone's on. Be careful what you say.
Said it was on. Zoom.
We need it.
Okay. There's Nancy. Oh.
Almost ready. Had 1 minute. Was it in the packet? Oh, no, it's too. Let's go back to this right here.
I need you to find it for me. We'll get it out.
There we go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Where's the thing?
I have one back up here.
I mean, we don't have it.
I dealt with that 2 weeks ago at the Conference Bench.
That was the Dallas.
Sales program, it's all. If
Uh-huh.
it wasn't for Josh, I would have gone through it.
Yeah, that was.
Which one?
Computer system at the store.
Finally found it.
You should call Josh.
Okay, but it's not in
It's
here.
a Jeff right now.
Oh, okay, okay.
Oh,
I definitely lost 500 documents.
Oh.
I don't have it soon. I'm just so excited. So we.
I'll call the meeting to order. Richard, do you have the roll call? Okay, we're all going to open now with a public hearing on the state revenue sharing. And I know, I'm sure that some of you have questions because there's some new ones here that we didn't recognize and probably maybe aren't going to be funded, at least not to the amount of money that they asked for. I think we could start with the Center for Dialogue and Resolution, 6,300. I think this probably replaces what over the years was called mediation, neighbor to neighbor, and then it was something mediation, and they never got more than $1,000. And I think that would be a fair, if they do in fact see people from Bandon, then probably $1,000 would be a good one for that.
Which one is that?
Center for Dialogue and
Got it.
Resolution. Okay. And also another one that kind of exceeded would be Circles in the Sand.
Yeah.
I think 3,500 is probably fair for them because they're very popular and they have a lot of fundraising abilities, it seems like. I think that,
Last year we gave them 3,000, so we're giving them 500 more this year.
yeah. Anybody else have any ones that they, Renee, did you want to bring up something?
Thank you.
And Renee, speak into the mic to make sure that.
Thank you. I do have a concern about the Waterfall Clinic Incorporated, and I will disclose that I did retire from that organization. We have a community health center here locally, and I know that they struggle similarly, and I did read the request from the clinic, and it doesn't really make sense to me because the community health workers do have funding sources. And we also have social determinants of health services here at our Bandon clinic. And I would feel much more obliged to make sure that they are participating if they have that need. I doubt it would be the social determinants, but they do, and they do have that program. But so I have a concern about that one. I would say have an objection to it, actually.
Yeah, I think you're right. I was surprised to see it considering that we do have those very services here in town. I mean, not only Waterfall Clinic, but the hospital and another private clinic and
And they are very jurisdictional with federal funding.
yes,
And I think there's a line to be drawn there between Coast and Waterfall. I really do. I don't think they should breach that.
I agree. I mean, these are all just things we can talk about and then when we vote, if anybody has any other ones that they want to look at. But I think Renee's right. I don't think they should be funded at all personally. Since they're really
If they don't
competing
have a
with the
point.
federal clinic that we already have here. Yes.
You can do
Do,
this
do
one.
they have a point of presence in Bandon?
Do they what?
Are they located here?
No.
Yeah.
No. But then neither is neighbor to neighbor, but they, well, the old, whatever they're called. But anyway, they do serve Bandon people. So,
Yeah, I have no objection to what Renee is saying, but I will say from personal experience, I know people that do take advantage from Bandon that take advantage of that.
Right. And that could be vice versa as well.
Yeah.
But I don't think that just on the grounds that there are some patients that maybe used to live over there or have a preference for there, that we should really be putting that into the equation. They really aren't based here. And
That's
we have a
reasonable.
Community
Yeah.
health center here and there are lines that are very drawn by federal funding and
Sure.
it just seems like a breach.
Yeah, Renee, do you know if Waterfall is an FQHC?
It is an FQHC.
Then
so is
they're
Coast.
asking for funding probably over their service area.
Oh,
Correct?
I'm quite sure.
Yeah.
And, but the thing is, they have fee for service. They also have grants and community health workers also have
Understand.
funding sources. So Determinants of Health has Medicare, through OHP and there are other resources available.
because David was on the board of Coast for a while, so oh, yeah, oh, come on. You're not afraid to admit it.
Well, it was a fraught relationship, but I'm
Yeah,
happy
well-
to have helped as best I could. And I do know that the feds are very concerned about service areas and how they devote their money to them.
Absolutely.
And I'm not sure how revenue raising outside of your service area
Mhm.
would be viewed, but that would be a question
Obviously, it's not,
for the
it's not
officer at the federal
allowed.
level.
It's not prohibited.
It's not.
However, there is
$1,000.
something that's a
Yeah.
breach there in reaching into another service area, in my opinion. So that's my objection.
I agree.
And since this is the first time anyway, there's really no sense in setting a precedent if this doesn't look like a really legitimate way for us to be spending our money. I don't see any sense. I think that probably they.
Thank you.
I'd like to go back to the needs and the mediation and dialogue
Yes.
request. So I appreciate your lowering that amount. That concerned me. The other thing that concerned me was that they were asking for money before they even do a needs assessment. And I can't remember, are they out of Eugene?
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, they are?
They recently acquired a center in Coos Bay.
right, right.
Okay.
So, but nonetheless.
Right.
It seems to me that if you don't even know why, whether there's a need or not here,
Right.
why the city of Bandon would be paying them anything.
Well, I thought 1,000, but I think maybe nothing would be more appropriate. And then maybe at some point, if they do get established and they are serving Bandon people and there isn't any other group serving Bandon people, then I could see that we might look at them again for a small amount, but certainly nothing in the.
Do we know if their predecessor who was common ground mediation?
Yeah, they-
For them?
And it had been
Did
neighbor.
we
to
ever get any
neighbor.
statistics from them as far as folks in Bandon that they helped with mediation?
They did always give us statistics,
Okay.
yes. In fact, they felt that the $1,000 that we funded them the last few years, when it was neighbor to neighbor and what you just said, that pretty well took care of the people that they'd served here.
I was just going to say also about that, they do have a lot of additional they have funding resources that they outline in their request, so.
And another, I'm concerned about Bandon Feeds the Hungry, that they only asked for 2,500. And I think that is something that I know it's near and dear to Bill's heart, that, that maybe we could give them another 1,000 to get up to the 3,500. And we know, yes,
Yeah, but they asked for 2,500. I don't know why should we give more if they thought that's what they needed?
Maybe
I
we
agree.
could ask why they only asked for
Yeah.
Well, and if
2,500.
Mary, they did make a comment that EAT asked for no money this year because they had funding.
yeah, they didn't ask last year either.
Exactly. So
But-
maybe they just don't really need it.
Amy, could you address that, please, up to the mic? Amy Moss Strong, who is helpful.
Well, that was one reason that I lowered the amount because EAT didn't need any money and one of the other ones went out of business a couple years ago. So, I mean, of course, they could always use more money. I was trying not to be greedy about it, so. Yeah, and also there's other groups that could use it as, like at Rotary the other day, we had a presentation for the beet community, something, and they're collecting goods to help with food resources for people
And that
in
was-
our area, in
yeah, in our
Bandon
area.
and in Coos Bay. So yeah, if you feel so inclined, I would not refuse 3,500.
Yeah,
At 2,500 would be adequate for, they're not broke. And that's one reason that EAT is not asking for funds, because during COVID, they weren't operating and they were still getting some money. So they have a pretty good bank right now. But there always still is a need, so.
I think the pantry, the community pantry serves approximately 120 not meals, but food packages per month. So even at 3,500, that's like $1 a family or
Mhm.
$1 a person per month. So I agree with the chair. I think at least $3,500 would be
Yeah,
a nice amount to award.
because that's really.
That would be appreciated.
That's really what revenue was sharing was for in the beginning, was to supplement things like that, the real needs in the community. And then as we got more and more, I mean, the list got broader, and that's why we weren't going to really take many. Well, that's not true either. Never mind.
Well, I wasn't also sure if senior meals had asked, and some years they have, and this year apparently they didn't, so that extra money could
Well,
also help with that.
Is that South Coast Business Employment Senior Nutrition Program?
Is that on there? I can't
Yes.
see, I don't see the list, the whole list.
Oh,
Next slide.
on the next slide, yes. So that's what I was, because for a while I thought they. were-
Okay, the way they worded it was confusing. Yes, so that's the senior nutrition program, but that could be the whole entire coast. I'm not sure if that's specific to Bandon, but so I wasn't sure who had all applied, so that was another reason for the lesser amount.
Okay, but we know all of your money goes to Bandon.
Yes.
Yeah, well, next time, go for the full amount. You can always get cut down.
Shoot for the moon next year.
Okay, do you want to go through your PowerPoint? I know that we kind of started out and explain things.
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Leave you to explain.
The idea of this table was just to consolidate all the applications that we received. All the specific details were provided with the original budget book in the handout. With that, we've also included highlighted sections that identify those that exceed the recommended limit of 3,500. That is not necessarily a regulation or policy, but a recommendation of the Budget Committee. Next slide, please. And in this particular slide, one additional item that has been added in light of the fact that we felt it was more appropriate to be funded from this revenue source than TOT is GBA with a one-time request for 39,400. And so with that, the other requests are consistent with what was recommended by the committee at 3,500 or less. That's all I have to report.
Beth, could you come up to the microphone? I have a couple questions for you.
Yeah, I hate these things. Microphone. Okay, on the 39.4, how much of that particular sum do you use for tourist promotion?
Let me look.
Well, that's why they're not asking for TOT.
I know, but I want to find out if we're going to fund some TOT through here.
We didn't actually break the budget down by TOT in particular. I depends on which category we have the wine walk, is that what you're looking for?
Well, yeah, I mean, the 39,400 is going to be used for.
Well, that was in our proposal, the 39,000 is used for, let me get back to that. I have so many papers here. Hold on.
That's because I didn't have it at home. I didn't read it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was very specific. We broke everything down. So our total operating expenses are 60,380. We're estimating for our fiscal year for October 2023 to September 2024. So, if for income, that's going to be, we're estimating 20,000. That includes the wine walks, administrative services, the NOG walks, 4th of July, grants like that. And a grant or two that Harv is probably working on.
So you're basically asking us to fund half your budget almost.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for making that.
More than.
Yeah.
It's more than half.
Yeah, I know, 2/3. I know. Okay,
I'm sorry.
Thanks.
I have a quick
I
question.
don't have it. in-
Of the 39,400, is any of that going to be used for the facade improvement project that Front Door Back was proposing? Or is that outside the scope of the
No, that's all outside of that. And that was in our report too. That's all, those are different funds.
funds? Okay, thank you.
I have a question. Actually, we would be funding like 100%.
Pardon me?
You have an expense column here of 60,000 and revenue of 20,000.
Mhm.
So
Sure.
this is.
Right. It is.
Renee, could you repeat that? I didn't hear you. Can you talk into the
Yeah,
mic, please?
Share the mic.
The information provided, there are expenses of 60,000 and revenue of 20,000. So we're filling the full gap.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that when I read it a little bit more. Okay, thanks, Beth.
May
Um,
I ask a question?
Yeah,
Certainly,
Please
Okay.
use the microphone for.
Yes.
use the mic.
I don't normally need a mic, but one of the questions I have is what taxes are you paying $7,000 for? Breakdown.
That's our payroll taxes.
Nope.
Oh, is payroll separate on there?
On the table.
Ye-
Pay- Wages is on the table. That's not payroll. That's what people
There's no other payroll tax. There's process.
It was,
So we have tax preparation, the 750, taxes, 7,000, that's payroll taxes. And then we have payroll processing, which is our accountant.
That tax figure is payroll taxes?
Yes,
Because you are a nonprofit.
we are a nonprofit.
I assumed it was
It's the
payroll
gross
tax.
salaries.
Yes. So the wages are 40,000 and then that's the taxes related to that.
Alphabetical.
Okay, so 2/3 of your costs are wages, so
Mm,
it's the work that people are doing.
Right,
How many
Exactly.
people do you employ?
just me.
Okay.
Everybody else is a volunteer. Yeah. I will say that there are other communities in Oregon that their cities do support their Main Street programs. And I don't know if you know, I guess this is brand new information, but we were just accredited again for 2024 for Main Street designation, and we are only one of 8 cities currently this year in Oregon that have that designation. So it's, we think, kind of prestigious, that we have that. But the Friends of LeGrand Main Street, the city funds them 25,000 a year. There's other, Klamath Falls, much more than that. Some of the Main Street organizations actually work for the city, they're city employees, but in this case, we're not, we're a separate organization. So.
And I think something else that this may look like an outlier, but last year, I don't think it really came to the budget committee, but out of the revenue sharing dollars last year, administratively, the pickleball people were funded either $40,000 or $45,000. Huh?
And
10,000?
the playground.
40. Oh, the playground. All right. There were big expenses, 40,000 for the playground, 10,000 for that wasn't part of the little page here that we have. So this is not really any different. And maybe next year, they won't be coming back next year. This is a one-time, just like the pickleball and the playground. Next year, maybe it'll be some other group.
She's not gonna get paid next year.
Well, they're gonna have to work they're gonna work on it. They'll be working it out.
I guess I'm kind of unclear about this revenue sharing. Are there any restrictions on what you can?
Not
use it
really,
for?
no. In fact, I'm glad you brought that up because many cities, everybody gets revenue sharing in the state. Many cities, and I mean like Coquille, Myrtle Point, cities like that, they choose to only put it in their general fund. And in fact, Tori was just looking at it tonight and saying, wait a minute, here's all the things that we could do with it. It was public safety and anything that you want to do with it. We have chosen to try to do the best for the community that we can. And yes, we fund a lot of small requests rather than just put it into another police car is basically what it amounts to. So if we can do, and as far as the GBA is concerned, I think they have a very small group of people, a very small group of volunteers, but they do a tremendous amount in the community. I mean, you look around at Christmas time, maybe I think Chris was the one that questioned whether or not it should come out of TOT. Maybe they don't bring people, 50 miles to put the bed in the head in the bed, I think is the term, but they do a great deal for the community. And I think that's the reason that we decided this year would be fair. They're going through a transitional period. Harv left them and not trying to put the
Harv has something.
thumb screws on you or anything. Harv left them. And so I think this is a legitimate, based on what they do to the community, I think this is a very legitimate request.
Beth, if we decide not to give you all of it, then what happens with GBA?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. It's possible GBA could fold. There are things that would definitely go away if that happened. We wouldn't be having the wine walks. We wouldn't have the night of 10,000 lights, holiday
You
lights
do
parade.
get money at the wine walks though, because everybody buys a glass,
We
right?
do. We get money for that, but it doesn't pay all our expenses. You know, you have the figures in here on what the
Yeah.
wine walks are estimated to make
Right.
this year. So that's why we are actively looking for, actually, we would really like sustaining sources of income and support to continue to keep doing what we do. Our fiscal sponsorship would end. We would not be able to sponsor holiday meals anymore. We wouldn't be able to be doing the pickleball people. Currently, we're doing Bandon inclusivity.
Holiday Meals pays for itself. I was on that board.
Holiday meals does, yeah, but we're,
Yeah.
we're still their fiscal sponsor right now. So we're, we do manage their money. And we just started, just added a new fiscal sponsor, which is Bandon Open Stage. So all of that support would go away.
My
I-
concern, go ahead.
Could I
Go ahead, Brenda.
just suggest that in future years, I assume there will be future years, that you put actual and then budget, just so that we can see more, a clearer picture.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank
Maybe Harv, you want to say a few words? since you're
Just,
the-
maybe just a few words. First of all, in terms of, what's being requested here, I think most of you know I've moved on and I'm now the, Main Street manager up in Coos Bay. And you need to understand up there, that the city of Coos Bay, is giving us 70,000 a year for 3 years. And that was just agreed to. So it's kind of like,
But Harv, Coos Bay has a lot more money than we do.
oh, agreed.
You can't compare the two.
Well, but Coos Bay is not the only one. I think Beth will show you that if you look at the numbers, the funding that comes to the Main Street organizations, this amount here that's being requested is below the average, if anything. The other thing, quite honestly, is you will find that there's probably 20% of the Main Street organizations in Oregon are directly part of the city government.
Right, we know that.
Yeah.
But it's not here, so
I didn't
we
know
can't
that.
compare that. My concern is if we fund all of this the way it is on the board, except for the couple of exceptions we've already noted, that takes up all of our TOT money pretty much for the year.
It's not TOT though. is
I
it?
mean, I'm sorry, revenue sharing. I mean, we only have what, 88,000?
80.
We have 80,000 and we've cut a couple, so that would take up all of it. And we've always had a cushion left over for the following year. That's my concern.
And I'm gonna present a little different thing here. We give the Chamber of Commerce $170,000 a year for advertising, right? But of that, about 30% goes to fund for administration, okay? So you take 3 into 30% of 170. And as far as GBA is concerned, and I think we've noticed over the years, they have assumed more and more responsibility in this community. And I think if we're able to fund what they're asking for within the dollar amount that we have, maybe next year we won't have any money left over, and then we'll live within our means next year. But I think this is a very legitimate request based on what has gone. What?
I'm not exactly sure the chamber's taking 30%. They give me to check those numbers.
What percent do you think they're taking?
For straight out for salaries, it's about 18%
Or but for administration?
for administration.
I said administration.
Okay, well, they're also running the visitor center down there too.
Okay, what's 18% of 170,000? Quick, somebody.
What is it?
20%.
Corey's got his calculator.
30,000,
About
30,000,
low 30s.
29, almost 30,000. Okay. Silence.
That would be our total payout. $5,000 left over.
So we have,
Okay.
based
right.
on what we've removed, which would be the 6,300, we've removed the waterfall, that's 10,000 right there. The
Well,
63.
basically, Paula just did it. We'll have about,
Oh, 7. So are you doing 1,000 for the Center for Dialogue?
No,
or
we're
0?
doing nothing.
nothing.
Well, I
That
mean,
gives us another 1,000. So we'll have like 8,500.
That's still a cushion.
Well, yeah.
okay, so then we have
About
8,500.
$7,500 left over if we fund everything except for the exceptions we've already made.
I have one more exception I'd like to
Oh,
discuss.
Okay,
It's a small one. I wasn't here for what's been called the glory days of the Bandon Playhouse, but I was impressed with their production this year.
Mhm.
And I was impressed with what they're proposing to put on next year. So if we have a little extra, they're only asking at this time for $1,000. And
I agree. I would love.
we know Amy goes a little low, but maybe we could make.
Well, and she's,
2,000.
you know, she's a tremendous worker. Usually you don't come to a meeting like this and wear all these hats, but Amy is a tremendous worker. I'm sorry, you are. I could, yeah. And I agree. I agree that at least 2,000 would be fair. If we have a $5,000 carryover, we never worried before about a carryover. You know, let's spend the money that we have and hope that maybe, isn't this the cigarette and alcohol tax? Maybe, what is it? Isn't that what it's based on? Revenue sharing?
It's on several different categories, yeah.
But alcohol and
Yeah.
cigarettes are, so.
Amy,
Yes.
is there a reason why the Playhouse only asked for 1,000?
Again, I just didn't, we have never.
Again, you didn't want to be greedy.
Asked before.
Yeah, I know you haven't been.
But the taxes are.
Thanks, Beth and Harp.
Your own taxes.
Playhouse is just getting going again after COVID. We managed to keep it from folding during COVID. And we finally have a season. So I didn't want to ask for too much. I wanted to see how it all goes because sometimes shows don't always pan out, as Peter knows, and just things happen. So I didn't want to over ask. So you can always use it, of course.
Well, and at some point, I think maybe Bandon Showcase is going to have to ask for a little, because Bandon Showcase has done a tremendous amount
have.
for this community. They brought some wonderful programs here. And they're just now trying to get back on their feet. In fact, if what they say on Facebook, they're really concerned because they had a relatively low turnout. I don't say low, but a low turnout for Wednesday night's program, which was an outstanding program. And the community should be supporting things like that. And when they're bringing this kind of, so I think they're going to need help eventually.
I think a big part of it is, I think the big part of it is supporting the Sprague Theater overall. We
Yeah.
really need to support that theater and keep it up, and it's just a gem for our community,
is.
so.
I suggest we give the Playhouse 3,000. That'll still leave us 5,000 in the bank.
You know, that's what I'm saying. You're proving the point here. You want to give some money here, you're gonna give some, but you're cleaning out the whole kitty.
You're right.
So I mean, I remember, I think it was 5 years ago, there was like 25 or 30 people that came in and we cut everybody down to 2,500 because it was taking everything out. And then we decided we weren't gonna give the whole thing away so we could have like a reserve fund for times when we need it. But
That's
it's
what
like
I
you're-
just said.
Sounds like you want to drain the whole reserve fund now.
Well, we're going to
Then
have
some- there's
5,000.
Other people that, well, we need this person too, so.
Well, last year, I believe they took almost all the money with the money for what was it, 40,000 for the playground and 10.
Mhm.
So there was more money allocated last year than we're looking at allocating this
I know,
year.
I hear it's a one-time thing, but they did it last year, they're doing it this year. What's happening next year?
A one-time thing for something of that magnitude.
Exactly. And is there gonna be something of that magnitude next year?
Well,
I'm just saying.
there might be. Yes, there might be.
That's right. And then all of a
Okay.
sudden, everything's drained.
No,
Paula?
but every year we get more money. Every year
Yeah,
we
but
get this
Paula-
cigarette.
What was our allocation this year? Nothing that was already in the bank. What was the allocation that came to us this year?
About 50,000.
So 50,000. Okay.
So next year, maybe we'll only have 50,000. Probably it'll be 55.
So Paula, do you have a running total for our discussion here? And we've.
Yes, she
Yeah,
does. She's been totaling the whole time.
I think if you change the Bandon Feeds the Hungry to 3,500, Circles in the Sand to 3,500, remove Center for Dialogue and Resolution, and increase Bandon Playhouse to 3,000, and fund everything else as stated there, you would.
No,
end up-
we wanted to remove Waterfall also.
I'm sorry, I had that, remove
Oh, okay,
Waterfall.
Okay.
Then you'd be at 74,600.
Sure. Okay.
Do I hear a motion or does, if
I'm just
anybody
waiting
has
for
any
anybody else to
questions-
have any questions.
If anybody has any questions of, because some people in the audience are here, like Nan and Gary are here from the VFW. And Jim and Bert are here from the museum. If we have any questions about mostly they're the same year after year and there's really no questions, but it doesn't hurt for them to hear.
VFW is getting lighter flags for the parades.
No, they're not.
They're not? Oh, I'm sorry. They've got so many organizations in that building up there that I can never keep them straight. But anyway, they're for lighter weight flags for the parade, so everybody doesn't get so tired.
Okay, I make a motion that we accept revenue sharing as corrected and fund.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we fund revenue sharing as presented.
Yeah.
Which will total, what was it, 75? Yes?
Can you make the numbers a little bit correct, louder for Richard to speak?
Okay, you want me to read all the numbers? Okay, Richard, changers are Bandon Feeds the Hungry to 3,500, Circles in the Sand, 3,500, Center for Dialogue and Resolution, 1,000.
No, zero.
Oh, there's zero. Sorry, I didn't correct that. And then Bandon Playhouse, 3,000, and eliminate Waterfall. You got that?
And the 39,400 for Greater Bandon.
Yeah.
So what is that total? 74,600. So it might be next year when we're sitting here, maybe we'll only have 50,000 to deal with. And if that's the case, we might do what we did some years ago and drop
Everybody got
everybody
$2,000.
down to 2,500. That's the fair way to do it.
Okay.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Let the record show we have one opposition. One
That
in.
was me.
Oh, Jerry.
The record show was Chris Powell in opposition.
It shows Chris Powell. Jerry.
I'll throw in with Chris, write me down as opposed, please.
All right, to Jerry.
Rosetta, what is your vote?
Does she have her?
Are you there, Jerry?
On mute. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I'll vote yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're
All right.
welcome.
We'll go on now to the discussion of the budget. And if there aren't any more, I don't know if there's other questions about the budget. And we've got, I think everybody got a copy of the motions because it's kind of
Yes.
technical as to how the motions.
Is worded.
I have a question about the budget.
Yes.
Oh, hang on one second. Everybody that was here for revenue sharing, you can leave if you'd like. Thanks for coming.
We said that one other year and then there was something happened and people were throwing books on the floor and everything. And we wished that the people had stayed, but that was a few years back. It's probably not going to happen.
I don't think it will happen.
Oh, that's in this budget? I mean, oh, okay. Yes, one change that we're making is in the organizational chart as per decision that was made by the city council a year or two ago. Finance director or treasurer, as we call it, is now under the city council. So that would be treasurer, city manager, city attorney, city recorder, and the municipal judge. And that's what our charter calls for. The charter specifically lists those 5 jobs as can be under the city council. And that's what we had. It doesn't mean that they don't work together and that they don't take orders from the city manager. It just means that when it comes time to hiring, because actually we did play a major role in hiring you.
Yes,
So,
we did.
yeah. Okay, are there other, Bill, did you have any? Okay, if not, will you?
I have a question regarding.
Oh, I'm sorry, Gordon.
So this has to do with the Chamber of Commerce. Might not be fair. Don't know if anybody from the Chamber of Commerce is here. Anyway, so on their budget specific to promotion, one of the things that caught my attention is they're spending $20,000 for promotion at the Seattle Airport and the Portland Airport. And so I was curious about what sort of tools the chamber was using in order to determine whether these expenditures are worthwhile, if they're accomplishing what we hope they accomplish.
Margaret, do you want to talk tonight?
I wasn't prepared. I'm curious about the,
Come up to the mic, Margaret.
Sore. I don't remember anything about the airport, Seattle and Portland Airport.
It's under the promotion budget.
Yeah, I know.
And it's $20,400, Best Escapes, CMET Seattle and Portland Airport.
Those are magazines.
Pardon?
Those are magazines.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, we,
They're also print and digital.
yes, exactly.
Okay.
It's nothing to do with the airport itself. Everything we do for the last 2.5, 3 years is now tracked by data. So if you are arriving in Bandon, we generally can track you by your cell phone, where you came from and how you found out about us. We started at about 5 years ago where we used so much social media and we were able to track just that particular, like out of KZI in Eugene, we were able to track if somebody digitally or well, mostly it was digitally, hit a Facebook ad or a online ad, and then come to them and we can track that. So that's how we track. And if you'd like to come to the meeting or the council meeting next Monday night, I have a whole new, they're always adding sets of data that they give us. And the newest one that just came out is we can tell now how much people spend in Bandon.
That's scary.
I know, but it's what
I
it is.
remember when you first told us, I went, oh my.
Yeah, but it's not specific. I remember that about 2-3 months ago, somebody was real nervous that I was tracking somebody who was being hunted, a person that she was running from her husband or whatever. It's not that, it's not that precise,
So it
but
gives you sort of a ballpark figure.
absolutely. I know, we just had this new one come out and, at Redding, California, it has popped up on our, we've never had Redding be a target for us. And that probably will not change what we do this year, but if that maintains, then we would always manage that. Because we're always, and we're a little different, and even our data company says that, because we have Bandon dunes. And so I am very careful, I unplug that, but this last go around when I got information from them, because I thought, "Oh, Portland's just Bandon dunes." And actually, Portlanders come to Bandon. They don't just come to Bandon dunes. So I'm able to track that. So now I'm looking at spending more money in Portland because they come here and I can track it. I can prove it.
I hope
No.
they answered your question, Gordon.
Thank you.
So are there any other questions? If not, we have the
Oh,
motions?
I got a question.
Yes, certainly.
Okay, this one here is, it's not a lot of money, but it's just kind of rubbing me the way. Increasing the mayor and council budget by 22,000. We're gonna have to be going out and asking people to raise their electric and water rates again in the future. And for the prices I saw that they're gonna up the mayor and council stipends, I don't feel comfortable telling people you gotta pay more when we're,
Of course, you do realize, I know we've gone over this over and over again, that the water, sewer and electric are enterprise funds and they are the ones they have to be able to fund
no,
themselves.
I know that. but-
All of the other things, all the money that we spend for TOT, all the money that we've allocated tonight. Because after, June is the one who decided to look into that. And I went online and looked at what other mayors and councilors are making across the state. And it is astronomical. So the amount, and no more, same city councils with managers. Portland, of course, is the only commission council in the state. Each commissioner has their own job, and I mean, they make several $100,000. But a lot of cities that have a city manager, their city council still, and we haven't had a raise.
I totally agree with that.
What's the average? I'm just curious, what's the average council stipend?
Well, all right, Ben, counselors, 9,700 a year, mayor, 19,540, Eugene, 19,000 annually, St. Helens, 800 a month for council, city manager, or city mayor. City mayors in Oregon range from 75 to 100,000. Other individuals, other cities include cell phone, car allowance, insurance. We don't,
But
yeah, health
do we have any-
insurance.
Do we have any comparisons to the cities that are the size of us?
Well, I just looked at cities. I just looked at cities. It says a salary, League of Oregon Cities, the salary range for a city council job is 29,000 to 49,000 per year in Oregon, the salary range. So what we're asking for is minuscule, and there has never been a change ever. So, but if you would like. to
No,
donate-
granted, I agree with you. It is a minuscule amount, but I'm just saying, I'm gonna feel uncomfortable going out there and saying, hey, we need to raise your rates
Well,
again next year.
here's what they do at the hospital. We get paid $100 a month at the hospital, and 2 of the hospital board members give it to the foundation. So I'm certainly sure that you could give yours to the utility department. Seriously, I'm serious. I mean, that's your option.
Be the hero.
It just, I'm just saying, it just kind of doesn't look right.
Well, but if you look at all the money we spend, and as Dan Chandler pointed out one day, we could be awash in TOT. And yet, of course, 70% of it is geared toward tourism. But it's really hard when you look at the amount, somebody says, oh, you gave the chamber 170,000. Well, you're raising my rates. But it's where the money comes from and where it's destined to go that makes the difference. So I don't have any.
Just bringing it up, seeing if
All right,
anybody
I
was on that
appreciate your
page. If you're not, that's,
Reality.
I sort of agree with the optics of it, but, and realistically, the difference between $100 and $200
No, I know
in
it.
my bank account is pretty insignificant.
right.
So even the $200, it's good for you.
Oh, you're gonna join us?
Well, I think was Mike Clausen had some sort of scholarship years ago. He
Yeah.
certainly didn't need it. Yeah, he would just, whatever, $1,200 a year, he would do a scholarship to the high school or something like that. So
So now do we hear a motion?
Okay, I move that the budget committee approve the proposed 2024-2025 fiscal year budget for the city of Bandon as presented, forwarded to the city council for consideration and adoption.
Except one word, as amended,
As amended.
because we made changes.
that's
so
right,
That's the
for the-
second part there. Okay.
Sorry.
second,
Right.
Well, wait a minute.
Wait, there's another part,
Oh.
and for taxing purposes.
Yes.
Now she's got to read that.
For the fiscal year 24-25, I move that the rate of ad valorem taxes for the general fund be set at 0.458 per thousand of assessed valuation. That the rate of taxes for the local option street tax be set at 0.8455 per thousand of assessed value. And that the total of all other funds receiving tax revenue be approved at $568,395.
now I'll second.
Who seconded it?
Peter,
Okay. All in favor?
Jerry,
Yes. All right, opposed?
Chris,
2. All right, and 1 abstention, 2 opposed. Now we have a motion for the urban renewal.
okay.
I don't think there were any changes to the urban renewal budget, were there? No, okay.
Okay. I move that the budget committee approve the proposed urban renewal agency budget for the fiscal year 2024-25 as presented and forward it to the city council for consideration and adoption.
And at the bottom,
Oh, and I move that the budget committee approve the full and maximum taxing authority that each urban renewal agency plans allows. Urban renewal number 1, 12,003,980. Urban renewal number 2, $7,341,821.
do I have?
Second,
Was that Chris?
that was me.
You like the urban renewal?
I like the renewal.
All in
I'll go ahead and
favor?
vote for that one.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Jerry?
You said yes. All right, thank you. And thank you. So we'll see you next year. Some of your terms expire, so we might have new people. Some of you will be here next year. So we appreciate it. Thank you.
That's correct. 320,000 in the urban renewal 1 district.
What?
But yeah, so we.
That's 24 proposed, yeah, but that's estimation of what there will be in there.
We got invited.
Okay.
But
I'm putting it up.
Yeah.